I am speaking on behalf of all American working class citizens right now. If you look behind me, those are all commuters. All these people are going to work, ready to slave their day away, most struggling to even make a living. Now, I'm going to be honest, we are all tired, and I'm going to make this demand for all of us. This demand is to small businesses, corporations, and our government. We deserve a livable wage, and we deserve affordable housing, healthcare, and food. And we aren't asking, we're demanding. And I'm not talking to the small businesses that are struggling. I'm talking to the businesses that have a lot of abundance. I'm talking about these people that are making $300,000, maybe $400,000 a year, that I know personally, that pay their employees $9 an hour. Enough is enough. And if you cannot afford a livable wage and can't give up some of your comforts in this world, then you don't deserve to be in business. Because last time I checked, we are a society and we are American. We're supposed to be proud and take care of each other. Greed has taken over everything. And again, I'm not just calling out small businesses. These corporations such as McDonald's, I saw a sign the other day hiring for $9. I saw a sign hiring for $12 down the other street. That is not a livable wage. People cannot do this. And these jobs just aren't for teenagers. People need to work. It's a necessity in society. If you want to enjoy these comforts, people have to work there and work there professionally. So they're going to be treated professionally. And I will tell you this, if you are a full-time worker in America, you deserve the right to live and be comfortable. Period. I'm not saying rich, I'm saying comfortable. And the thing that holds everyone back from this is greed. Greed, greed, greed. So people can have a bigger box to live in, more things to put in it, more toys to flaunt in front of people, more trips to show off while other people suffer. This system should not be designed just for a couple people to be able to actually enjoy it and live extravagantly. The days of this are over and it needs to end now. Now, I'm not asking for a violent revolution, but we need to step up right now. We are done. It is over. And one of the most effective ways we can spread this message is through social media. And I'm not trying to benefit myself, but I hope this video gets millions of likes, millions and millions, so that people who actually can see that we are done and we're standing together. So if you honestly like this message, like it and comment enough, because we're not asking anymore.
There is a breaking point in this country and we are watching it happen in real time. We have reached a stage where the hardest working people in America are actively subsidizing the wealthiest corporations on earth just to keep their neighbors from starving. While billionaire executives boast about record profits, their full-time employees are standing in line for food stamps that your tax dollars pay for. And when everyday folks try to step in and help feed kids, government bureaucrats show up with a clipboard to shut it down. We aren't just looking at isolated incidents of corporate greed anymore. We are looking at a system designed to extract every last dollar from the working class.
Am I the only one noticing this, or does it feel like all companies are just pushing their limits? They are just trying to see how far will you pay for their service, their product. You know, restaurants, I don't know how we got to this point, but like an average drink now is around $20 at a restaurant. And you go look at any bottle at the grocery store, you know that bottle is, let's just say $40. We're paying for like one shot in that drink that we buy at a restaurant, $30. $20. Then we have subscriptions that are always raising their prices. And then the second that you want to quit, they're like, hey, hold on a second. Here's 2 months free on us. So then for me, it sounds like, okay, I've been paying more, so then they can give me this 2-month free offer when I try to leave. And then you have food like Lay's, which tried charging around $7, $8 for a bag of chips. And they realize, oh, you know what? People aren't paying this anymore. And how many times is this going to happen where it's just like all these companies are just going to continue raising prices until we say, yeah, we're good on that?
If a company pays workers so little that they need food stamps and you pay taxes that fund those food stamps, then congratulations, you're subsidizing that company. And nobody's doing it better than Walmart. Walmart wants you to think they're helping working families with low prices, but behind every rollback sticker is a business model built on poverty wages and funded by the taxpayers. Most Walmart workers aren't teenagers earning gas money. They're full-time workers stocking shelves, running registers, unloading trucks, 40 hours a week, and still qualifying for SNAP and Medicaid because pay is that low. A federal report listed Walmart among the top employers whose workers rely on public assistance just to survive. Here's where your wallet comes in. Government support for Walmart workers, food stamps, Medicaid, housing subsidies, cost taxpayers an estimated $6.2 billion every single year. Zoom in on one store and taxpayers are covering $900,000 to $1.75 million per Walmart location per year, just to fill the gap between poverty wages and a living wage. And the punchline, Walmart made almost $19.4 billion in profit in 2024 alone. So the issue isn't they can't afford higher wages, it's that they don't want to because the public is already paying the difference for them. And here's the trick most politicians and media never mention. Workers use SNAP because their wages are low, and where do the SNAP dollars get spent? At Walmart. In 2025, Walmart captured roughly 24% of all SNAP spending in the entire country. So taxpayers fund the benefits, and Walmart profits from the benefits. People say Walmart is good for the working class because things are cheap, but nothing is cheap when you pay for it twice. You get low prices at the register, and then you get a higher tax bill to subsidize the wages that keep those prices low. That's not a discount, that's a transfer of wealth upward. This isn't about shaming workers. This is about an economic system where a full-time job doesn't pay enough to live, and the taxpayer gets the bill so billion-dollar companies don't have to pay up.
So when I was in high school, I wrote a paper arguing that if politicians had to live on minimum wage for just 1 year, policy in America would change overnight. For context, when I was in high school, when I wrote this paper, I was literally working 2 jobs while going to school. I remember being exhausted all the time, trying to balance work, school, home, transportation, responsibilities. And there were actively grown adults in government arguing about whether or not kids like me deserved free lunch. And that stuck with me for years because I feel like it perfectly summarizes how disconnected some of these people are from real life. You have politicians that are making 6 figures arguing over whether or not struggling teenagers deserve to eat lunch at school. Not luxury, not vacations, not handouts, food. Because a lot of American legislation feels incredibly tone deaf. And I think part of the reason is because many of the people making these decisions have never experienced real financial struggle a day in their lives. A lot of them come from generational wealth, elite schools, family connections, old money, corporate backgrounds. Like, some of these people have literally never had to worry about their rent, never even rented, never had their electricity almost shut off, never skipped meals, never had to choose between groceries and gas, never experienced the exhaustion of living paycheck to paycheck. Yet they are the same people deciding minimum wage, healthcare access, housing policy, food assistance, student debt, maternity leave, and what poor people supposedly need to do better. And then people wonder why these policies feel so disconnected, because how can you properly solve a problem that you have never personally experienced? It's like me saying, oh, I've never struggled with addiction a day in my life, but I want to be in charge of the national addiction recovery programs. You can study something, you can read statistics, you can observe suffering from the outside, but lived experience matters. And I'm not saying that only poor people can be politicians, but I do think that there's something deeply broken about millionaires and career politicians lecturing the working class about budgeting and survival when they've never had to survive. I don't think it's only disconnect anymore either. They're also like extremely apathetic. Like, these politicians sit in positions where they could materially improve the lives of millions of Americans. They could help raise wages, expand healthcare access, regulate housing costs, strengthen worker protections, make childcare affordable, reduce poverty on a massive scale. But instead, they spend their careers protecting corporate interests, lobbying groups, PACs, and wealthy donors, because that's where the money is. And there's something deeply ironic about holding one of the most powerful positions in the country and using that power to primarily enrich yourself. They know that these people are struggling. They know that Americans can't afford rent. They know that there's people drowning in medical debt. They know that there is families working multiple jobs to survive. But as long as the stock portfolios go up and campaign donations keep coming in and the corporations stay happy, they do not care you are suffering. People talk about corruption like it's hidden in a dark room somewhere. It's just watching them consistently pass legislation that benefits massive corporations over everyday Americans. And the craziest part is that the corporations are not the majority. The average American's not a billionaire. The average American's not a CEO. We are statistically closer to homelessness than to becoming millionaires. Most of us are like one medical emergency, one layoff, one car accident, one missed paycheck away from a financial disaster. Yet the political system is constantly structured around protecting the wealth of people at the very top, while all of us absorb the consequences. Because if politicians had to actually live off minimum wage for a year, I think minimum wage would increase very quickly. I think healthcare reform would suddenly become urgent. I think that affordable housing would magically become a bipartisan issue. I think paid maternity leave would probably stop being too expensive. Because suddenly these wouldn't just be statistics on paper, they would be personal. Because that's what it is. They do not care about you. You are very different from them. They don't look at us as them. We're like a whole other species.
The government truly hates when we help each other, and they don't get a cut of it. I just had a phone call with John from the Department of Agriculture. Good dude. Congratulated us for what we're doing on feeding kids. Hey, there's a bunch of food. And there was a dog. And he's like, hey, you need to get registered. And I was like, hey, no, I don't. And he was like, well, you have got a lot of food that you're giving to people. I said, yeah, no different than Halloween. And he was like, well, it's a one-time thing, so nobody's going to fuss about that. I said, yeah, this is a one-time thing too. He's like, well, 2 small meals, 2 snacks, and a drink per day. I said, yeah, I'm not going to go out and deliver to 1,700 kids every single day. I'm going to give it all at once. Like, if we're able to, obviously. But I was like, what are you going to do? Raid my house? Like, are you going to, follow me around in a car? Are you going to trespass onto my property if people come here to get meals? Like, I don't need to follow your rules and pay you money for things that we're doing, to help others. It's dried goods. This is insane.
A lot of people ask, and it's a valid question, what are billionaires going to do in the long term? If we're all replaced by AI, who's going to buy their products? And there's a lot of nuance to that answer. But one important thing I feel that needs to be emphasized is these people don't think long term. They only think short term because they're grifters. And the grift is you get in and you get out and you hope you are not the last one holding the bag. If you think of Enron or the '08 financial crisis or Bernie Madoff or even as recently as Sam Bankman-Fried, all these events, financial instruments, or people were praised as genius and this next big thing and this moneymaker, and they all were essentially a scam or were a financial instrument being used to scam the market. NFTs is another great example. AI will blow up in a bad way. And the devastating part is the people who are affected the most are everyday normal people whose lives and money and livelihood was played with for these people to get filthy rich on. I don't know who is going to take the responsibility when it does blow up, but I will say keep an eye out for what Sam Altman starts to do in the next couple months.
In just over 30 days, I will be leaving the United States for good. I will come back for about a 2-week period just to finalize moving everything, but I will not be living in the United States after another 35 days or so. And while it's quite sad to say this has been my American dream for the past 2 years, is to get out of the country. And it's extra unfortunate because growing up, I completely fell for the notion that America is the greatest place on earth and that there is nowhere better to be. And I know people internationally who also believed this and thought that they were going to immigrate to America and that was their dream life. But this has also completely faded away for them. I was told all these things about how great America is and this is the place to be growing up, and I really look forward to it. But now that I'm older, I don't see any of what I was told was going to be here. In fact, I don't even really recognize the nation I live in now from what I thought it was as a kid. And, part of that is just growing up. And, I actually thought that is just how life goes. You get older, you get jaded by the world a little bit. Things start to lose their beauty and you start to lose that spark, that youthful spark within you. But then I leave the country, not just on little 1-2 week vacations, but in periods of time where I'm living in other parts of the world, and I don't experience that at all. Especially in Europe, I feel like I'm living in a place that is still full of soul and full of life and, full of joy. But I come back here and I don't see that. All I see is, get a job, get a career. That should be your life. There's nothing beyond your career. And what the rewards that are being promised from your career is just more consumerism. You're told to get a career so that you can buy more stuff and have more things. And, you also just live in a completely soulless environment. You drive down the street and it's just chain after chain after chain after chain. And it's even an inconvenience to drive. So at this point, I've started to realize this nation doesn't really have anything left for me. It's going to be incredibly difficult just for me to get an entry-level job here. Why would I stay here? And yeah, I am very blessed to be in a position where I can go move somewhere else and do things to get a career over there. But it is sad because I did expect that I would continue to love the nation the way I did when I was younger, but now I just don't feel, I almost feel like completely numb to this place. America doesn't even feel like a home to me anymore. It feels like a place where I was just brought up and I get the opportunities from it. And if I really want to live a fulfilling life, I need to go live elsewhere in the world. And people, other young Americans and even people in other parts of the world are starting to notice this too, that, America is just not anymore what it used to be. And that sort of promise is gone. And I think even now, Americans that lived 85 years ago wouldn't recognize the nation for what it is, and not just because of technological involvement or advancement. And, our communities have been completely eroded just so that we don't have to constrain the individual. And I don't think individualism is inherently bad, but it's gotten to the point where that individualism just kind of leads to more consumerism at the cost of eroding our communities. So it is really sad, but I wouldn't trade the opportunities I have now for anything else. But it is kind of sad that I've kind of grown these feelings of feeling numb towards my home nation, which I was told was so great and such an amazing place to live.
When you stack it all up, it paints a deeply frustrating picture. You have career politicians who have never missed a meal in their lives debating whether teenagers deserve a school lunch. You have giant retailers like Walmart capturing a massive chunk of SNAP benefits, effectively double-dipping into the taxpayer's pocket. And on top of it all, you have tech billionaires chasing the next quick grift, hoping they aren't left holding the bag when the bubble bursts. It is no wonder millions are feeling entirely numb to the place they grew up. When the social contract is this badly broken, when a full-time job doesn't even guarantee a full fridge, walking away stops looking like giving up, it starts looking like survival. Are you seeing this same disconnect in your own community? At what point do you think everyday Americans will finally stop footing the bill for corporate profit? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.